Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Monday, April 27th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, Iran's foreign minister has communicated the country's conditions for ending the war with the U.S. The man arrested after the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner will make a court appearance on Monday. And Beijing's recorded over 7 million border crossings so far this year, including 2.3 million foreign nationals. In business, policy support helps boost China's industrial profits in the first quarter. In sports, China's dominant performance at the Asian Beach Games continues. In culture and entertainment, the Beijing International Film Festival has drawn to a close. Now checking the day's top stories. Media say Iran's red lines in negotiations with the United States include Tehran's nuclear program and the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi returned to Islamabad after a visit to Oman. He conveyed Iran's conditions for ending the war through the mediator, Pakistan. Other Iranian media said the discussions in Islamabad did not relate to nuclear issues. Tasnim news agency said the talks focused on Iran's position on the Strait of Hormuz, war compensation, guarantees against repeated aggression, and the lifting of the U.S. naval blockade. Araghchi said his earlier discussions with Omani officials included ensuring safe transit through the Strait of Hormuz. He's now in Russia for further discussions. U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran can call if it wants to negotiate an end to the war. He reiterated that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Tehran said the U.S. should remove obstacles to strike a deal, including its blockade of Iran's ports. Talks appeared to fall apart on Saturday, with Tehran's top diplomat leaving Pakistan, and Trump saying he's told envoys not to travel to Islamabad. Walter Morris reports from Washington.
Trump repeated many of the claims he made before he returned to Washington, D.C. for the White House Correspondents Association dinner. He told reporters that he would not send Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner to Pakistan because the trip is too long and too much work. Trump called off the trip shortly before they were scheduled to leave for Islamabad, and the decision came hours after Iran's top negotiator left Pakistan without making a significant breakthrough. And as Pakistani officials work to reestablish peace talks between the United States and Iran, U.S. foreign policy experts say it will take careful diplomacy to reestablish trust between the two countries.
What this requires is really tough diplomacy. There's no question that the United States has a credible threat of force, but the blockade really blockades ourselves as well as Iran. And the United States has to decide what it's willing to do to get back to these talks and really begin some true diplomacy. You can't do this in 20 hours in one day. This is a very complex negotiation. You have to do it with experts. You have to be ready to be in for a long haul.
Trump extended the ceasefire with Iran indefinitely. He says it's now up to Iranian officials to reach out to negotiate a permanent peace agreement. And the Strait of Hormuz will play a major role in those negotiations. Sunday, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer weighed in. According to his official spokesperson, he had a call with Trump, and during the conversation, the two world leaders discussed the urgent need to get shipping moving again through the Strait of Hormuz. According to the Prime Minister's official statement, the closure is having severe consequences for the global economy and the cost of living in the UK. And the call comes as the standoff intensifies over the strait. This weekend, U.S. Central Command released new images of a Navy ship intercepting a vessel. The Strait of Hormuz is a key gateway for 20% of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas. It's essentially been closed since the war began, leading to a global energy crisis. In response to the closure, Trump imposed a naval blockade on Iran's exports. Iranian military officials accused the U.S. of piracy and promised a powerful response from Iran's armed forces. Sunday, Iranian media released new video of two ships that were seized and taken into Iranian waters. Iran's Revolutionary Guard reportedly fired on 3 vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, and those attacks took place one day after Trump extended the ceasefire. Senior Iranian officials say they won't negotiate with the United States while the U.S. naval blockade is in place.
That was Walter Morris on difficulties in advancing U.S.-Iran talks. Meantime, Trump said Iran's running out of storage for oil, and the pipelines could explode within a few days because of the U.S. blockade. He said Iran may lose half its oil production capacity as a result. Businesses in Iran are slowly coming back to life since the temporary truce, but the war has left its mark on the Iranian people and the economy. Tehran residents are calling for a permanent end to the conflict in a way that leaves Iran's dignity and the people's well-being intact.
The war has caused massive devastation. Many people have lost their jobs, including myself. Many people are struggling to make a living. If an agreement can be reached, I think things will get a lot better. But I don't know whether we can get there.
Our country has suffered both personnel and property losses. The negotiations should be carried out in a manner that spares the deceased and the victims any disrespect. That's how it's meant to be. We don't expect Iran to reap all benefits, but at least Iran should equally benefit. The outcome should be at least a 50-50 split.
I hope that the remnants of war will dissipate from each and every one of us, because this war has truly left tremendous psychological trauma on every individual. My family, friends, and everyone around me are not in a good place. I hope that the war can end in a way that brings well-being to the Iranian people, because we are deeply scarred.
The resident said the U.S.'s shifting rhetoric makes them untrustworthy and voiced hope that peace and development will be restored. Lebanon says the number of deaths from Israeli attacks on the country has climbed to more than 2,500 since early March. The Lebanese Health Ministry says thousands more have been injured as the conflict continues to take a heavy toll despite a U.S.-mediated ceasefire. Hezbollah says its attacks are in response to repeated Israeli violations, warning that any continued strikes or occupation of Lebanese territory will be met with resistance. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has accused Hezbollah of undermining the truce, saying Israel retains the right to act against immediate and emerging threats. The Israeli military has warned residents to leave 7 towns beyond a buffer zone it occupied before a ceasefire took effect. Evangelos Sipsis has more from Beirut.
There is a ceasefire, at least on paper, but it doesn't look like it on the ground because we have seen constant violations from both sides. The new round of evacuations that are issued by the Israeli military for 7 more towns in southern Lebanon, this time north of the Litani River, the border of where Israel said it will be conducting its operations. Now it has issued warning for more towns north of that, and that's what Hezbollah has been accusing Israel of conducting operations in residential areas beyond the Litani River. They said that anything that Israel will be doing will be met with force. They have every legitimate right to fight back. Israel says that and accuses Hezbollah of conducting operations against its troops in the southern part of Lebanon, but also sending drones in northern part of Israel. But the really impact that we see is on the ground here, where thousands of people are fleeing southern Lebanon after the U.S.-backed ceasefire was signed for another 3 weeks. It really shows that Washington is taking more of a diplomatic approach to the issue. The international community, along with diplomatic staff and actors around the world, they want restraint. But they're concerned that every drone, every strike, every evacuation order that is taking place here in Lebanon could deteriorate that already fragile ceasefire. But at any moment, as people here in Lebanon are saying, it could escalate, and that's the biggest worry.
And that was Evangelos Sipsis in Beirut. Palestinian officials are calling local elections a success despite low turnout in Gaza. A turnout in Deir al-Balah, a city damaged by Israeli airstrikes but spared a ground invasion, reached only 23%. Rami Hamdallah is chair of the Ramallah-based Central Election Commission and former Palestinian prime minister. He says outdated civil registry records contributed to the low numbers. But he also says the vote sends a political message that national unity and general elections remain possible.
We were able to hold elections. The turnout in Deir al-Balah was only 23%, but there are several reasons for that. First, we relied on the civil registry, which has not been updated. Thousands of people have been martyred in Gaza are still listed in the registry. In addition, widespread displacement has occurred. Entire families have moved from Deir al-Balah to other areas. The Palestinian Authority has not held presidential or legislative elections since 2006.
Hamas did not field candidates in Deir el-Balah. In the West Bank, turnout reached normal levels, surprising observers who expected public apathy. Coming up, the suspect in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner will appear in court.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
10 minutes past the hour. U.S. President Donald Trump says the suspect accused of trying to attack administration officials at the White House Correspondents Association dinner was a pretty sick guy who had an anti-Christian manifesto. Cole Thomas Allen's in custody and will appear in federal court on Monday. Social media information that seems to match the profile of the alleged California gunman shows he worked part-time at a company that offers admissions counseling and test preparation services to aspiring college students. In a message sent to family members minutes before the attack, the 31-year-old described himself as a friendly federal assassin and railed against recent actions taken by the U.S. government. Tony Waterman reports from Washington.
What's typically a night of jokes and celebration of the free press here in Washington turned into chaos and fear late on Saturday, with shots ringing out at the annual White House Correspondents Association dinner. Todd Blanche, who is the acting U.S. Attorney General, says it appears that the suspected gunman was targeting members of the Trump administration. He gave no specifics on who exactly, but many top cabinet members were in attendance, including the vice president, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, and the FBI director.
We're still looking to try to understand a motive. From our preliminary investigation, it does appear the suspect was targeting members of the administration. I don't want to go beyond that because we don't have specifics yet about particular members of the administration, except that we do understand that that was his goal and his target.
Blanche told Meet the Press on Sunday that President Trump was also likely a target. It is still very early on in this investigation, but if that is true, it would be the third time that the president has been the target of an assassination attempt. President Trump, in an interview with Fox News on Sunday, said that he and the First Lady are doing well. He said the suspect, who the media has identified as 31-year-old Cole Allen, left a manifesto in which he expressed anti-Christian views. CBS News has reported that Allen shared his manifesto with family members, one of whom alerted the authorities. The shooting, though, is raising a lot of questions about security at this event. There is this dramatic video of the suspect sprinting through a metal detector area. But to reach that point, he would have been required to pass through other levels of security. Officials saying that Allen was carrying 2 guns, weapons, Todd Blanche says, were purchased within the last couple of years. And according to Blanche, Allen traveled by train from Los Angeles to Chicago and then on to Washington before checking into the Washington Hilton Hotel where this dinner was being held. Investigators have been combing through the suspect's home in Torrance, California, which is not very far from Los Angeles. They've also been going through his electronic devices, talking to people who knew him as they search for a motive. Allen is expected to appear in federal court on Monday, and the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia said that he is facing firearms and assault charges, although that is likely to go even higher if he was in fact targeting the president. The shooting, though, taking place right before Britain's King Charles III and Queen Camilla arrive in D.C. on Monday. President Trump in that Fox interview saying the king is still coming.
That was Tony Waterman reporting. British media also confirmed that the state visit by King Charles and Queen Camilla will go ahead as planned. And it comes as ties between Washington and London have been strained, with President Donald Trump seeking to decouple the U.S. from European allies. Owen Fairclough has more.
If Great Britain goes down, the Axis powers will control the continents.
It was a transatlantic bond forged during what Winston Churchill called the darkest hour. The US under Franklin D. Roosevelt joining Churchill and Western allies once again to turn the tide of a Second World War against a German-led coalition.
This means a special relationship between the British Commonwealth and Empire and the United States of America.
And enduring, Britain and the US latterly serving together in the Balkans, Iraq, Afghanistan and Libya.
The late, great Winston Churchill.
But suddenly unwinding in another dark moment for the world, orchestrated by US President Donald Trump's repeated threats to abandon Western allies.
Unfortunately, Keir is not Winston Churchill.
Trump has rounded on British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for refusing to join the US and Israel in their conflict with Iran.
This is not our war, and we're not going to get dragged into it.
Amid this deteriorating political relationship, Britain's King Charles is making his first state visit to the US since he was crowned in 2023, and the first by a British monarch in nearly 20 years. To add to the symbolism, Charles and Queen Camilla will be stateside during the 250th anniversary of a country born from overthrowing British rule, and whose relationship with the old world under Trump is threatening the Western order cemented by that Second World War alliance.
Trump has been vocal in his admiration for the pomp of the British monarchy. And given that British monarchs are largely symbolic figureheads who tend to stay out of politics, it's possible for a US president to have a different political relationship with the British government. And in any case, that relationship has ebbed and flowed somewhat. Barack Obama warned the UK that it would be at the back of the queue for a free trade deal with the US if it left the European Union, which it did. And there's still no free trade deal more than 10 years later.
But as the King prepares to make an historic address to Congress, there's pressure on him to prevent two countries with a deep shared history from losing their connection.
That was Owen Fairclough on the British King's state visit to the United States. The Malian defense minister died on the weekend as jihadis and rebels seized towns and military bases. Malian government spokesperson Issa Osmani Coulibaly announced the death of General Sadio Kamara on Sunday.
The transitional government of Mali deeply regrets to announce the tragic death of Lieutenant General Sadio Kamara, Minister of State, Minister of Defense and Veterans Affairs. Indeed, following the cowardly terrorist attacks that took place on the morning of April 25, 2026, a car bomb driven by a suicide bomber targeted the minister's residence. He engaged in an exchange of fire with the attackers and succeeded in eliminating some of them. During a violent clash, he was injured and taken to the hospital, where he unfortunately died.
The coordinated attack struck the capital and several other cities. The government's reported at least 16 wounded. Separatists have fought for years to create an independent state in northern Mali, while al-Qaeda and Islamic State-linked militants have battled the government for over a decade. After military coups, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso turned from Western allies to Russia for help against militants. However, the security situation's worsened, with militants carrying out record attacks. Government forces also face accusations of killing civilians suspected of collaborating with militants. Also on Sunday, rebel forces say Malian troops and Russian mercenaries have withdrawn from the northern city of Kidal. The spokesperson for a separatist group said the withdrawal followed the attacks across the country on the weekend. The spokesperson said both sides reached an agreement for a peaceful exit. Coming up, Beijing's recorded over 7 million border crossings so far this year.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
Around 19 past the hour. The Chinese capital has recorded more than 7 million border crossings as of Sunday, representing a 13% increase. The number of exits and entries by foreign nationals at Beijing ports was nearly 2.3 million, 34%. Nearly 830,000 foreign arrivals entered under visa-free or temporary entry permit policies. China's introduced unilateral visa-free exemptions for 50 countries and implemented other visa-free arrangements for 55 countries. Retail sales in China recorded a 2.4% increase in the first quarter. Momentum has pushed global retail giants to expand their offerings to Chinese consumers. Chen Tong spoke with Mark Israel, who heads the Bicester Village chain in China.
Over here, a little further along, we see a first flagship Up here we see a first off-price store in China. Again, first off-price stores in the sports category.
We met Mark Israel in Suzhou, not far from Shanghai. This is the Bicester Collection's largest outlet village in the world. This month, the village launched its new expansion.
So we have about 30 shops that are the first in just this new phase.
How many stores in total do you have in this?
We have about 200. This third phase is 65 boutiques and restaurants.
So over half of the shops here are first shops.
That's right.
9 are first outlet shops in China. 22 are first shops or first outlet shops in Jiangsu province. The expansion is driven by Bicester's outstanding performance in recent years. The village achieved the record-breaking sales of the New Year holiday.
While some areas of the market are declining, we're actually growing faster than we were at any time since before COVID.
But does the expansion in an outlet village that offers discounts at all times means people are cutting their consumption budget?
I don't think so. It's segmenting more. So you have people, I think all people at times can be driven just by price and convenience. We see, particularly if we think of sports, active lifestyle, healthy lifestyle kinds of things, people are more focused on that. They're willing to spend for the best when it comes to that category. I don't see any fundamental change in that.
National data supports what Mark said. China has over 200 outlets nationwide. Sales in these outlets jumped by over 12% in 2025, and visitor flow jumped by over 15%. And if you look at retail sales overall, they jumped by 3.8% in the same period. Mark has been living in China since 2013. When I asked him about the biggest change he has witnessed in China's consumer behaviors, he said one thing has always remained strong: Chinese people's willingness to consume.
They're not afraid to spend money, but they want to make sure they're getting value for the money, and they want to make sure they're getting value for the time that they're investing in order to spend their money.
I first thought the robust growth of outlet villages in China might signal that Chinese consumers are tightening their budgets and opting for cheaper goods. But Mark has pointed out that Chinese consumers have always been drawn to great value deals, and that booming outlet sales actually also reflect an expanding consumption sector.
That was Chen Tong on retail trends in China. China will implement a zero-tariff policy for 53 African countries starting Friday. The African Union's permanent representative to China says it'll bring opportunities for development on the continent. Alhaji Mohammed Sarjo Ba has also shared his opinion on the traditional friendship.
In 70 years since we established diplomatic ties, there has been consistency in the friendship, there's been consistency in the solidarity between China and Africa. And I think it's good to remind people that when China went back to the United Nations in the early 1970s, the biggest bloc that supported China to get back its seats and to become a permanent member was the African bloc. And what is interesting, my country, Sierra Leone, had the presidency of the Security Council that year. So that solidarity has grown. And we also have the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC. In 2024, there was the summit here, and President Xi Jinping outlined 10 priority areas for support. And one of them is the zero tariff for goods from Africa that is coming into force on the 1st of May this year. That is significant because it's going to be a win-win partnership for Africa. I think it's a very important opportunity for Africa. China is the biggest market in the world, very lucrative market, very vibrant. And to be able to access that market, I think is going to be extremely important for our industrialization in Africa, for our modernization efforts, but also for us to improve efficiency and effectiveness in our business models and production systems.
Well, Guinea-Bissau's ambassador to China said the zero-tariff policy is a mutually beneficial initiative that brings gains to all parties. Antonio Sirifo Mbalo said it'll help the country's major agricultural products gain market access.
The zero-tariff policy is beneficial for all parties. I am confident that more African products will enter the Chinese market. For us, cashew nuts are a key product. Guinea-Bissau produces more than 250,000 tons annually, and we currently export most of our cashews to Vietnam and India. With zero tariffs, I believe Guinea-Bissau will be able to export more cashew nuts to China. At the same time, we already import a large volume of Chinese goods. This will further facilitate trade between both sides. I hope this policy will continue, supporting Africa and the development of both countries.
Well, data from China's foreign ministry shows that trade between China and Guinea-Bissau totaled more than $97 million in 2024. Deep in the rainforests of Guyana, a small village called Batavia once struggled with chronic power shortages. Well, today, a newly built solar power station, supported by a Chinese company, is delivering round-the-clock electricity, transforming life in this remote community. Li Xiangping has more.
It takes more than 4 hours by road and boat to reach Batavia from the capital, Georgetown. The village is not connected to the national grid. For years, families depended on diesel generators. Though fuel was expensive and supply uncertain, resident Romeo Williams remembers those challenges well. Without state power, storing food was difficult. Now, things are different.
It was very hard at that time. But presently, everything is all right with, with the solar, because we use it, to freeze the freezer, and then we get like cold water. We use it like washing machine. We get the light in the night. We use a fan. So presently, we're enjoying the current.
More than 700 villagers are benefiting from the project. After more than 3 years of planning and construction, the solar power station began operating in September 2025. The project, worth nearly $1.5 million, was funded and built by the Guyana branch of the China National Offshore Oil Corporation. It includes 3 solar microgrids supported by battery storage and a distribution network, supplying electricity to households, the village school, the health center, and small businesses. Engineering manager Huang Zhao says the impact has been immediate.
村民之前呢是通过购买燃料油进行发电机发电。
In the past, each household spent over $200 a month on fuel. Now, with 148 solar panels and battery storage, the system provides 24-hour clean electricity free of charge. People are very satisfied.
Reliable electricity is also improving essential public services. At the local health post, midwife Wendy Rivers says the lack of power once made even basic care difficult.
Since the solar farm, we receive it, it's been working excellent, because before now we had no lights. The place, during the dry season is be very hot. So now we have access to fans. We can use our microscope to do our malaria screening. And we also have a fridge where we store our vaccines. Before we had to wait on vaccines from Bartica, but now with the solar power, we have vaccines all the time.
The village school is seeing changes as well. Head teacher Shane Ivor Chatto says stable electricity is helping students learn in new ways.
For this, we had shortage, we have a solar in there, but it's shorting every 2 days, cut off, right? Now that we have the solar farm, constant electricity, we could do our work in peace, we could even use the TV, everything, the entire day, instead of it cutting off half day and leaving us stranded. It benefits just not just school, the entire island that the school is on, right? It's no longer dark in the night.
Guyana has some of the highest electricity costs in South America, but in Batavia, reliable solar power is already opening new doors. A cassava processing center is now under construction, set to run entirely on solar energy. Village leader Mufi Gomez says the future looks brighter. For the Beijing Hour, this is Li Xiangping in Georgetown, Guyana.
All right, 29 past the hour. Checking the forecast ahead of the break, and Beijing will be cloudy through tomorrow. The lowest 9 degrees is up to 22 on Tuesday. Shanghai will see a light rainfall tonight and tomorrow, a low of 15, a high of 18. Chongqing has moderate rainfall, easing to light tomorrow, the low of 17, a high of 18. Nanchang's getting a light rainfall, becoming heavy, a low of 20, a high of 21. Lhasa will see showers and 4 degrees, then overcast and 15. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad's getting a light rainfall with a low of 21 degrees this evening. It's cloudy and 34 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, Iran's foreign minister has communicated the country's conditions for ending the war with the U.S. The man arrested after the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner will make a court appearance on Monday. And Beijing's recorded over 7 million border crossings so far this year, including 2.3 million foreign nationals. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
From the refreshing cup of tea that starts your morning to the paper that you write on, the roots of many familiar parts of modern life can be traced back to ancient ideas. Join us on Made in Ancient China and discover how ideas born millennia ago became some of the world's greatest treasures. Made in Ancient China brings you stories of human ambition, inspiration, and connection. Now available on all major podcast platforms.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. Right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Monday. Still to come. In business, policy support helps boost China's industrial profits in the first quarter. In sports, China's dominant performance at the Asian Beach Games continues. In culture and entertainment, the Beijing International Film Festival has drawn to a close. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTNradio. Now checking the day's headlines, and China plans to revise the agricultural law to boost its agricultural strength. A draft revision is now at the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress for its first reading. The revision aims to strengthen agriculture's role in the national economy, promote high-quality agricultural development, advance rural revitalization, and provide legal guarantees for modernizing agriculture and rural areas. The agricultural law is a foundational piece of legislation. It first took effect in 1993. It underwent revisions in 2002 and saw amendments to specific provisions in 2009 and 2012. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is in St. Petersburg for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Russian trip marks the final stop of a tour which included Pakistan and Oman. Araghchi says consultations in Pakistan focused on the conditions for a possible resumption of Iran-U.S. talks. He says any future negotiations must safeguard Iran's rights and national interests. Despite the lack of a clear timeline for negotiations, Pakistan's mediation efforts are continuing. Officials say Islamabad will continue to keep the diplomatic track open. Two Israeli political heavyweights are joining forces to challenge Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in upcoming elections. Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid announced that they'll merge their parties into a single faction led by Bennett. The two previously served as prime ministers in a rotation agreement during a 2021 coalition government, which ended 12 years of Netanyahu's rule. Bennett said he'll establish a state commission of inquiry into the October 7th Hamas attack on his first day in office.
We're coming with work plans that are already ready so as not to waste even a single moment. This is a big step toward fixing the state, but really not the last step. You will see more steps and more surprises that will change the face of the state. On the first day of the new government, under my leadership, we will establish a state commission of inquiry into the October 7th massacre, in order to bring truth to the families and answers to all the people of Israel.
Lapid called on Israel's entire center to unite behind Bennett to win the election. The two men have ideological differences, as Bennett holds hardline views toward Palestinians, while Lapid is more moderate. Lapid has led the opposition since losing power, while Bennett took a break from politics. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Moldovan President Maya Sandu, and International Nuclear Agency Chief Rafael Grossi have marked the 40th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster with a ceremony and conference. Grossi said the IAEA signed an agreement to increase support.
Today, with the minister, we have signed an agreement to expand the support the IEA is giving, and in particular on a very challenging situation which is posed by the military pressure on the electrical grid and continued attacks on the critical substations that are sustaining the nuclear power plant's effort.
Zelensky and Grossi also toured a new permanent Chernobyl exhibition at Kyiv's National Museum. Zelensky warned that Russian attacks risk repeating history, saying Russian drones regularly fly over the plant and struck its confinement last year. IAEA assessments show a strike in 2025 had already compromised a key safety function. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development says repairs will require at least 500 million euros, roughly 586 million US dollars. The California man arrested in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is a highly educated tutor, an amateur video game developer. Police named the suspect as Cole Thomas Allen. Voter records list Allen's home as his parents' house in Torrance near Los Angeles. A next-door neighbor said he kept to himself and was very quiet.
I can't remember ever talking to him. I mean, I don't even know that I really said hi to him. He kind of kept to himself.
According to U.S. media, some evidence suggests that the accused gunman was angered by the actions of the Trump administration. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, policy support helps boost China's industrial profits in the first quarter.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
37 past the hour. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed higher on Monday. The Shanghai Composite was up almost 0.2%. The Shenzhen Component gained nearly 0.4. Consumer electronics and semiconductor shares were among the top gainers. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index dropped almost 0.2%. Japan's Nikkei increased almost 1.4%. China's industrial sector posted strong profit growth in the first quarter as government policies helped cushion the impacts of a complex economic environment. Profits of major industrial firms increased 15.5% on a yearly basis to reach nearly 1.7 trillion yuan, almost 250 billion US dollars, accelerating by 0.3 points from the growth posted in the first 2 months. In March alone, profits at major industrial companies increased 15.8%, up 0.6 points from the January-February period. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, authorities rolled out more proactive policies to stabilize growth. This has helped the industrial sector recover steadily and improved corporate profitability. Equipment manufacturing remains a major driver of profit growth. Profits in that sector climbed 21% in the first quarter, contributing 6.8 points to overall industrial profit growth. The sector accounted for 33.7% of total profits among major industrial firms. That's up 1.7 points from a year earlier. Profits in the electronics industry surged nearly 125%, supported by strong production and recovering prices. High-tech manufacturing posted robust gains, with profits jumping over 47% in Q1. The Chinese Commerce Ministry says the country's wholesale and retail sectors posted steady growth in the first quarter, providing solid support for building a strong domestic market. The added value of wholesale and retail trade grew 4.1% to 3.5 trillion yuan, roughly 513 billion US dollars, accounting for 10.5% of the country's gross domestic product. In the wholesale sector, the transaction volume of key commodity markets monitored by the ministry rose 8.6%. Retail sales of goods reached 11.3 trillion yuan, up 2.2%. Online sales in rural areas rose 11%, while online sales of agricultural products increased almost 15%. The Consumer Goods Trade-in Program also continued to gain traction. Smart glasses, which were made eligible for subsidies for the first time this year, have emerged as a new highlight. Driven by the policy, key enterprises saw sales of smart glasses in the first quarter rise 42.4% in volume and 47% in value. With more, Lincoln Humphreys spoke with Professor Yin Xiaopeng from the University of International Business and Economics.
So what are the standout signals in this latest data for you, and what do they reveal about China's broader industrial recovery?
Well, I would say that some data is pretty surprised. We expected this one. Some industry, like say manufacturing, of course, will be still keep the stronger. It's more than 60.3% more than GDP. That's what we expected, and we also expect the construction industry decreasing because the real estate market not so good. But the really interesting thing is two things. The one thing is about the GDP for first quarter. That's a surprise higher than before, because we think about it, they're very, very surprised because the first quarter normally is not very good data, and the current situation, as we know, is the geographic conflicting and geographic policy, trade policy. So lots of things are negative factors. But even so, they got a very good result, say, it's more than 6.7, close to 5% GDP for first quarter. That's surprising. The second surprising, I would say that it's beyond the manufacturing data is very good. And we observed some data, say, information transformation, software, information, some service industry, that would be increasing is like more than 10%. That's a surprise high, and especially we found the commercial service industry, including rental, they will have 12.2%. That's a surprise one. You know what? We always talk about the China manufacturing is very strong, and the service industry is not strong. Just like we talk about example, we compare to the United States, the trade, China's service trade always negative, deficit. But here it's very high, more than 10% increasing. That would be say that, like you say, that would be say so broad, the stronger. We were so the broad industry recovery and the stronger.
Such strong figures, as you mentioned, in spite of so many negative external factors. You've got global trade fragmentation, tariff escalation, supply chain rewiring at the moment. China's industrial sector is navigating quite a perfect storm of external pressures. Is the resilience we see in the profit data here genuine structural strength, or are there some vulnerabilities that the numbers don't yet reveal?
The profit data do really show the total the structure strengths. Yeah, because as you say that profit, the rate like 15% the first quarter. That's a very surprise high, especially when we consider about the current consumption recovering not as good as we expected. But still have so high the profit rate that will be very strong. The industry very strong, sort of like the firm still can reduce the cost and to sell more and get the high profit. So that's why I say that strongest overall the strongest strength.
And that was Professor In Xiaopeng talking about China's industrial sector. China's top economic regulators blocked the foreign acquisition of the Manus project. The National Development and Reform Commission has rejected Meta's acquisition of the AI startup. Unlike chatbots that only generate text, Manus autonomously plans and executes simple tasks, from data analysis and coding to research and file processing. On December 30th last year, Manus announced that it would join U.S. tech giant Meta in a deal worth over $2 billion. China's AI Plus initiative is accelerating commercial applications. One of the fastest growing products is smart glasses. From instant translation to navigation and video calls, these devices are changing how we see the future. Huang Fei has more.
The world is embracing the AI revolution right before our eyes. Glasses that translate, glasses that navigate, record, stream.
Great, I love this.
Even pay.
This is truly a technical marvel.
And behind this global wave, China is the fastest growing market. At Shenzhen's Huaqiangbei, the world's largest electronics market and a window into consumer trends, sales jumped as much as 70% during the Spring Festival holiday.
Here in Guangdong, AI glasses are flying off the shelves, and you can kind of see why. Priced at about $250, it's packed with many functions of a smartphone plus AI interaction, including real-time translation, adjusting the tint of the glasses, and counting calories.
The market is taking off. Global smart eyewear shipments reached about 4.3 million units in late 2025, up 74% in a year. China alone shipped more than 620,000 units during that period. And 4 of the world's top 5 best-selling brands are Chinese. Analysts expect China's market to nearly double again to about 4.5 million units by the end of 2026.
Here in the Pearl River Delta, manufacturers say once an order comes in, they can deliver up to 3,000 pairs within a week. Dongguan, once known as the world's factory, is now a powerhouse for smart wearables. Xu Zuowei's company was among the first in China to manufacture AI glasses for international clients.
Our orders are consistent and we're booked through the next 5 months. Right now, our business is mostly OEM exports, but our own brand is doing well too. Orders are exploding. Even this past Sunday, we hosted 4 groups of clients. Right now, it's about 60% overseas, 40% domestic.
China's robust supply chain keeps production moving fast. A single pair of AI glasses may rely on dozens of suppliers, from chips and sensors to displays and optics. And according to Bank of America Securities, more than 80% of the global smart eyewear supply chain is based in China. In many cases, key parts can be sourced within the same region.
That was Huang Fei reporting. Beijing Auto Show is underway with more than 1,400 vehicles on display. Organizers say over 180 of the vehicles at the show are global debuts. Chinese companies such as BYD and CATL are showcasing new battery tech that can reach near full charge in a matter of minutes. Several models also feature domestic chips for smart driving and in-car systems. The event covers 380,000 square meters, with automakers from 21 countries and regions. Organizers expect close to 1 million visitors, a new record for global auto shows. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, China's dominant performance at the Asian Beach Games continues.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past, and turning to sports now. Here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Shane. The Asian Beach Games is well underway in Sanya, and China is making waves. Marathon swimmer Zhang Ziyang triumphed in the men's 5-kilometer open water final, edging out fierce competition from 2 Vietnamese rivals. In Dragon Boat events, China's teams dominated, with men's 400-meter crew clinching gold, followed by the women's team, who mirrored the success in the 400-meter grand final. Overall, China seized 5 of the 6 available golds in Dragon Boat racing, setting a new record for a single edition of the Asian Beach Games. Switching to snooker, an all-Chinese clash saw defending champion Zhao Xintong edge past the former world number 1 Ding Junhui at the World Championships to reach the quarterfinals. With the win, Zhao stays on track to become the first player to successfully defend his Crucible title.
This match is of great significance to both of us. For me, Ding Junhui is my idol. When I was a child, I often watched his matches and saw him win many championships, so it is a unique feeling for us to compete the Crucible. Before the match, I told him to join it because there was no longer any question of winning or losing. In fact, I was under a lot of pressure during the contest, so I'm very happy to win this match.
Zhao entered the third session with a narrow 9-7 lead. Ding quickly closed the gap to a single frame by winning the opener, but Zhao responded by taking the next 2. Ding, who hasn't advanced past the second round here since 2018, crafted a 76 break, showcasing flashes of his best form. However, a stunning 108 century from Zhao brought him within a frame of victory, and after additional breaks of 43 and 44, he sealed a 13-9 win. Zhao now faces 2005 world champion Shaun Murphy in the quarterfinals. In football, Chelsea is through to the FA Cup final after defeating Leeds United 1-0. Enzo Fernandez's 23rd minute header set up a title clash with Manchester City on May 16th at Wembley. Chelsea's interim head coach Calum McFarlane believes the win will completely change the feel in the dressing room after a rough patch led to Liam Rosenier's dismissal earlier in the week.
It was important to break the momentum and the form that we was in, and I thought we were confident that we would do that today, and I think that completely changes the feel within the group. I think that was probably more important and gives us confidence going into the next 5 games.
McFarlane's first 2 games in charge included a 1-1 draw against Man City in the league. Meanwhile, Pep Guardiola's City rallied to a 2-1 victory over second-tier Southampton to secure their spot in the final and continue their pursuit of a domestic treble. Chelsea last reached the FA Cup final in 2022, losing to Liverpool on penalties. That marked their 3rd consecutive defeat in the final, extending their streak of 6 consecutive domestic cup final losses. Kenyan runner Sebastian Sawi made history on Sunday by becoming the first man to run an official marathon in under 2 hours, breaking a barrier that had eluded runners for decades. Rahul Pathak has the details.
The men's race was won by Sebastian Sawe of Kenya in a world record time of 1 hour, 59 minutes and 30 seconds.
I'm so happy today in London, running a world record. I'm so excited. I didn't believe, but I was well prepared, and the training I've done, the results have come now.
Thousands more still running their own personal races, all of them being cheered by a huge crowd.
It's unreal. It's really inspiring seeing everyone with such an amazing achievement. I think seeing everyone in the crowd, everyone's families and stuff.
Many locals call it London's best day of the year. Since first running in 1981, the London Marathon is now regarded as one of the most prestigious races in the world. This year's event is expected to set new records in terms of raising money for charity. It's prompted the organisers to make plans for next year's marathon to be a 2-day event, with as many as 100,000 taking part, where it's expected they could raise over $175 million for good causes.
That was Rahul Pathak reporting. And finally, in the NBA, with Kevin Durant sidelined by an ankle injury, the Houston Rockets rallied to stave off elimination, defeating the Los Angeles Lakers 115-96. All 5 Rockets starters scored in double figures, and the team capitalized on 24 Lakers turnovers, converting them into 30 points. Houston also added 23 fast break points while holding the Lakers to a dismal 5 for 22 shooting from beyond the arc. The Lakers still lead the series 3-1 and return to Los Angeles for Game 5 on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Victor Wembanyama returned from a concussion to lead the San Antonio Spurs to a 3-1 series lead over the Portland Trail Blazers. Despite trailing by 17 at halftime, the Spurs made a strong second-half comeback.
Thank you very much. That's Yang Guang with sports. Coming up in culture and entertainment, the Beijing International Film Festival has drawn to a close.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
52 past now. In culture and entertainment, the Beijing International Film Festival has drawn to a close, with the British film Dragonfly emerging as the biggest winner, taking home 3 Tiantian Awards. The film, which explores the unlikely friendship between an 84-year-old widow and her younger neighbor, triumphed in the Best Feature Film, Best Screenplay, and Best Actress categories. Brenda Blethyn and Andrea Riseborough shared the Best Actress award, marking only the second time in the festival's history that the honors being jointly awarded. Dutch filmmaker Mike Van Diem won Best Director for Our Girls, while Yu Ho-wei claimed the Best Actor award for his role in All the Good Eyes. That movie will be released on the Chinese mainland on May 23rd. The film traces a family's changing fortunes over 4 decades. In a special event, French actress Juliette Binoche shared her reflections on her journey in cinema.
You're always free as an actor and risking something new. That's your freedom. I don't think you have to be a soldier in front of the camera and obeying what the director is expecting, because what you want to do as an actor is to surprise, is to go into a place you've never been before. The real purpose of an actor is to embody humanity in their flaws, in their fragilities, in their possibilities, in their magic, in their potential. I'm just a conduct for emotion to go through me, but it's not me. It's through me. Pushing one person into being the one, like the star thing, is an illusion. Start from yourself. Start from your own experience. Believe in what you're feeling, the sensation. Instead of making decisions from your head. Make decisions from an intuition, a place in you that is calling you. You can see it, but it's there with you. Just listen to it carefully.
That was French actress Juliette Binoche. The Beijing Spring Book Fair is now open. The month-long cultural event brings a vibrant celebration to China's capital. Plus, ticket holders from the Beijing International Film Festival can enjoy an exclusive discount on books at the fair. Zhang Mengyuan has details.
During the book fair, Beijing plans to give out 6 million yuan worth of book vouchers. And there's a special tie-in with the Beijing International Film Festival. With every film festival ticket stop, visitors can claim book vouchers at the fair.
This year, we've redefined the fair's brand. Beijing Book Fair has become the first mass cultural event in China led by physical bookstores. Also, for the first time, we've linked the book fair with the Beijing International Film Festival through ticket stub exchanges, and we'll be giving out book vouchers to the public.
I enjoy history. And Ma Buyong's new book just came out. I got it at 35% off. Such a good deal. And with the voucher, even better.
More than 2,000 bookstores across Beijing are taking part in this year's Beijing Spring Book Fair. The 4 venues cover a total area of 16,000 square meters, the largest scale in the fair's history.
I like philosophy and literature. I just bought a few books at the Commercial Press's Hanfenlu bookstore.
Over 70 events will be held in communities, shopping districts, and schools, reaching every district in the city.
That was Zhang Mengyuan reporting. A variety of films, including patriotic dramas, comedies, action titles, and animated features, will hit Chinese cinemas during the May Day holiday. The Travel Through Film campaign launch is also merging cinema with cultural tourism, promoting movie-themed travel routes and visits to filming locations. The May Day holiday runs May 1st till the 5th. The Beijing art season will begin next month. From May 21st to June 15th, the festival will feature over 400 events, drawing hundreds of art institutions from around 20 countries. Under the theme Art Gathers in Beijing, Harmony Embraces All, the season expects to attract 5 million participants. 2 major highlights will take center stage: the 10th anniversary of Gallery Weekend Beijing and the Beijing Dongdai Art Fair. We're at 57 past the hour. Checking the forecast before we go. Beijing will be cloudy through tomorrow. The low is 9 degrees. It's up to 22 on Tuesday. Shanghai will see a light rainfall tonight and tomorrow. 15 overnight, high of 18 tomorrow. Chongqing will see moderate rainfall easing to light with a low of 17, a high of 18. Nanchung's getting a light rain becoming heavy. A low of 20, a high of 21. And Lhasa will see showers and 4 degrees overnight, then overcast and 15. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad's getting a light rainfall and 21 this evening. It's cloudy and 34 on Tuesday. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, Iran's foreign minister has communicated the country's conditions for ending the war with the U.S. And the man arrested after the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner will make a court appearance on Monday. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy, and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio